What if I told you there's a country where women don't just shape the culture, they are the culture? Where history wears a headscarf and carries fresh bread in one hand and a smartphone in the other. A place where strength whispers, where elegance walks barefoot, and where beauty doesn't demand attention. It simply exists, steady and sure. This isn't fiction. This is Georgia. You might think you know Europe. You might think you know Asia. But Georgia exists in a space between, where continents meet and cultures collide, then dance. It is not merely a place on a map. It's a rhythm, a breath, a memory you didn't know you had until you heard it again in someone else's voice. And more often than not, that voice belongs to a woman. Step into Tbilisi and you feel it, not from billboards or brochures, but from glances exchanged across produce stands, from laughter that rises like steam above morning coffee, from the scent of fresh tonus pori carried by women who walk like time doesn't own them. In Georgia, the past isn't hidden in glass cases. It walks beside you, arm in arm with the present. And in this slow dance of centuries, women are both memory and motion. They are the hush in the churches, the pulse in the streets, the soul in the song. Wander through the hilltop monasteries of Mskita or the shadowed stone alleys of Sinagi, and you'll see them. Women lighting candles, heads bowed, their silhouettes quiet against stained glass light. You might think they are still, but they are not. They are holding up centuries. They are listening to stories older than borders. And somewhere deep in that silence is a power that cannot be taught, only inherited. And yet, Georgia doesn't live in silence alone. It lives in sound, in movement, in the softness of a grandmother's folk song, hummed over herbs and dough, in the clap of hands at a wedding dance, where women whirl in patterns that echo the landscapes around them, sharp, fluid, eternal. To know Georgia is to understand that enchantment doesn't always arrive dressed in magic. Sometimes it wears an apron. Sometimes it wears a university hoodie. Sometimes it walks you to the bus stop and makes you promise to eat more. Because here, femininity isn't about softness. It's about presence. Presence in the kitchens, where women fold khinkali with muscle memory and love. Presence in the streets, where poets and painters, many of them women, sketch stories onto concrete walls. Presence in the mountains, where shepherds and headscarves call their herds with voices firm and melodic. And presence at the supra, that sacred Georgian feast, where the tamada may raise a glass, but it is often a woman who raises the room. Through laughter, through listening, through her ability to hold space between joy and grief like no one else can. There is a word here, sulguni, not just a cheese, a softness wrapped around strength. Like the women who carry Georgia forward while never letting the past fall behind. In Batumi, you might meet teenagers dancing traditional routines in between skateboarding tricks. In Rustavi, a girl paints her nails while reciting 12th century poetry. In Kakheti, women stomp grapes and retell myths in the same breath. These aren't performances. These are inheritances. And they are alive. There's a story in every corner, and most of them begin with someone's mother. The woman who taught her daughter how to toast to peace. The grandmother who still picks wild tarragon before sunrise. The widow who turned her front room into a guest house not for profit, but for purpose. Because strangers are just stories you haven't heard yet. And there's beauty, yes, but not the curated kind. This is a beauty that comes from knowing who you are and where you're standing. It's in the curve of script on a handwritten prayer. The worn hem of a wedding dress passed down for generations. The dust on a violin played only once a year, but never forgotten. Even the air here seems female, resilient, fragrant, full of history. Georgia isn't just shaped by its women. It is spoken by them, sung through them, stitched into every thread of daily life. And once you feel it, truly feel it, you carry it with you. Like a secret, like a blessing. So if you ever find yourself walking the winding streets of Tbilisi, or the vast golden vineyards of Kakheti, or the cloud-brushed paths of the Caucasus Mountains, listen, not just with your ears, but with your attention. You may hear a lullaby, a laugh, a lesson. You may meet Georgia herself, and she might look you in the eye and ask, without words, will you remember me? Because she remembers you. You'll see it in places guidebooks forget to mention. A widow tending her rose bushes on a crumbling balcony. A teenage girl reciting ancient poetry while scrolling through memes. A baker up before dawn, humming the same lullaby her mother sang to her. shaping bread the same way her grandmother did. These moments aren't extraordinary here. They are everyday. And that's the magic. You'll learn that hospitality in Georgia isn't performative, it's instinctive. A stranger is welcomed not with suspicion, but with wine and walnuts, with stories and sincerity. Especially by the women, who have learned how to open homes and hearts in the same breath. At every table, there's always room for one more. Always an extra spoon. Always a story to share. And often, it's a woman who will tell it. Not to impress you, but because stories, like recipes, are meant to be passed down. In Georgia, strength wears many faces. The mother lifting firewood for the winter. The scholar translating medieval texts by candlelight. The artist who chooses color in a city still carrying shadows. They do not wait to be noticed. They simply are. And they leave something with you. Not always in words. Sometimes in a look. A touch. A song you can't name, but can't forget. Have you ever been to a place where the people, not the landmarks, changed you forever? We'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments so others can be inspired by the places that touched your heart. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it helps us keep sharing the quiet wonders of the world, one soulful step at a time. Georgia doesn't need a stage. Its women have carried its stories across fire and frost, exile and empire. They've fed strangers, stitched flags, sung nations into being. They've taught silence how to speak. The soul of this place isn't found in museums or monuments. It's passed through calloused hands. It's baked into loaves. It's sung at twilight. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it looks you straight in the eyes and welcomes you home. Not as a tourist, but as a witness. Because Georgia isn't just a country you visit. It's a country you remember. And memory, here, is sacred. So don't just come for the mountains. Come for the women. Come for the wisdom. Come for the wonder that never had to be loud to be lasting. Come to Georgia and let it change you. And when you leave, you won't take souvenirs. You'll take stories. You'll carry the echo of a grandmother's prayer, the bold gaze of a market vendor, the rhythm of footsteps on ancient stone. Because Georgia doesn't give you something to consume. It gives you something to carry. And long after you return home, something in you will whisper, just like the women of Georgia. Don't forget where you've been. And don't forget who you met along the way. The map may say you've left, but part of you, soulful, curious, still listening, stayed.